So I've audited dozens of coaching businesses at this stage, and it's always the same. They come in, they think, "Oh yeah, I got a handle on my systems. I got some good processes." But it's not until we actually go through this audit that they realize, yeah, maybe there's some things that I could improve. So today, I'm actually going to run through the same audit that I use with people on the call, and from here, you'll be able to kind of follow along and audit your own business. We're going to go through the 10 areas that we check, and then from here, there's actually a downloadable kind of PDF version of this. So as I'm going through it, you can basically do it at the same time. You're going to have a great idea about what's working really well in your business and then where we need to maybe systemize and automation. You can take it and run with it. So, without wasting any more time, let's jump straight into it. The way that this is going to work is we're going to go through a series of questions for the 10 areas, and each question is going to have three answers. You have one, two, or three, and they are assigned scores. So, if you answer score one, you are getting 0 points. If you answer score two, you're getting 5 points. And then if you answer score three, you are getting 10 points. So, for example, how do you track leads? If it's like randomly, no system, you're getting 0 points. If it's like, yeah, I use a spreadsheet, you're getting 5 points. It's like, yeah, I have an automatic tracking system that automatically gets the people from applications, call bookings, all that kind of stuff. You are getting 10 points. And we're going to repeat that process for all the areas. Now, I won't go into each one too long because there's quite a lot of questions. So feel free to pause this video as you're going through it. And if you have any questions along the way as you're doing it, feel free to pop me a message on Instagram. I'll help you out. There's no worries. So let's jump into the first area, which is going to be to do with cash. Right. Lead generation and tracking. The first thing is, how do you actually capture your new leads? So if you're just capturing the new leads in case it's like, oh yeah, I got a new lead, I'll type them into a spreadsheet or my VA does it or anything like that, you're probably somewhere around here. If you are not tracking the actual conversions of the, or sorry, if you're not tracking the actual conversations and follow ups, if it's like, oh, I just reply to them when they reply, or if I remember to go follow up with a person, I'll make like a little kind of note or something like that, you're probably here. Then, if you do not currently have a kind of value on your lead pipeline, for example, if you know that each client is worth 2 grand to you, and then you have 100 people that are in this stage of the pipeline, do you have an actual value of that pipeline? And then, do you know the actual conversion rate on average of like leads to calls to closes? If you don't, it's very hard to know what is the actual value in that pipeline. So ideally, we want some sort of a way that automatically calculates the value in your pipeline and your conversion metrics. So you can say, hey, we got 50 leads in this month. That means we're roughly going to make X if it averages out to all the numbers we previously had. From there, then, what happens if a new lead doesn't buy? A lot of the time, people will just kind of discard them and be like, right, well, it's a no. So next, on to the next one. There was actually a mentorship as in years ago, and their kind of thing about sales was like someone says no, next, on to the next one. Doesn't matter, on to the next one, plenty of leads. But the thing is, like, when they say no, it's a no for now, but not forever. So we don't want to just discard the lead. We want to make sure that we have some sort of a system inside there where we can either manually follow up with them, or there's some sort of like an automatically triggered system that will tell us when to follow up with them and why and what to say when we're going to re-engage with them. So we ideally want something like that. And then how are you actually tracking where the leads are coming from? If you look at all the leads that you have, you might have 60% from Instagram, 20% from email, 10 Facebook, 10 direct referral. But then if you look at the people who closed, 60% of the closes might have actually came from email. So you might actually need to put more effort onto email instead of Instagram. So having that data lets you make really good decisions. So having some sort of a way to track that, we'll just say that we don't here. So now for you to fill this in, you're just going to say 5 points. So 5 points, 0 points. We're going to say 10 points for this one because we have 10 points. We're going to say 5 points for this one. And then we'll say 0 points for this one. And then you would just total it up. So you have a total of 5, 10, so 20 points. And then we're going to do the same now for each of the areas going forward. So we'll speed you up on it because you can pause and read through all the questions, make sure you pick the right one. Next one. How do you kind of manage it when new coaching applications come in? How do they get to book a call? So if a new coaching application comes in, do you just send them the message and be like, hey, go book a call? Do they get to actually book a call from completing the application form? Or do you have like a smart application form where it will either qualify and disqualify them and then see whether they actually get to book a call or not? So we ideally want to have some sort of a system there. We'll just say no on this one. Then, how do you actually prepare for each sales call? Ideally, we want some sort of a system which will tell us here's all their details, their application, their conversational notes from the VA. Here is the lead magnets they downloaded. Here is their pre-call questions that they answered, and everything in one place. So when we jump on the call, we have full context. Especially if you are using a VA and you're not in all the conversations, we want full context going on to a call. We want some sort of a system on that. Then, how are you actually tracking the results? If you're just logging it manually, really we want this kind of automatically tracked, and then it will show you like show rate conversion and the total pipeline value and stuff. Then what happens after a sales call? So do you actually get the notes from the sales call? Do you review it? Ideally, we want each of this to be automatically transcribed and then put onto the lead's profile in your CRM. And then from there, we can use an AI sales trainer to actually give us a better sales performance over time then as well, and tell us what we did well, what we maybe didn't do as well. And then if we're going to reach out to this person again, this is what we could say to re-engage them. And we'll total this up. So we have 0, 10, 15. So we have 35 altogether. Let's do it here. All right, on to the next one. Onboarding. Easiest one to fix, and coaches don't do it. It drives me fucking nuts. Right, first one. How long does it take to onboard a client? This should be here, without a doubt. Everybody. When it comes to collecting contracts and all that, this should be here. Absolutely everybody. How are clients added to your main client dashboard or tracker? Automatic adding to the tracker is super important, because if we're not automatically getting them added in and all their details, like we're going to miss stuff. And it's not until you start to get more volume that you realize this is an issue. Then how do we deliver the welcome resources and access instructions for the new clients? Just automate this, dude. Like there's so many, I have so many tutorials on this. Just automate it once, get it done. And then how do you track whether the clients have completed the onboarding? A lot of people will kind of like try to manually track, oh, did they complete this? Did they complete that? But it's not until you start to get more volume in there. If you got 10 clients who onboarded at the same time, that's 10 contracts, 10 intake forms, 10 training programs. It's a lot of moving parts plus all your current clients. And then if 90% of them complete all the steps, but only one person misses something, that would flag to say, hey, Aaron hasn't signed his contract yet. And then you would know, all right, I need to give him a little bump on that. Or if you wanted to use something like Sign Now, it could automatically follow up with them in 48 hours to give them a nudge to say, hey, don't forget to sign the contract, for you to continue with the onboarding, all that kind of stuff. So then you would total this up, 45 points. And we'll do the same here. So client management, how do you currently keep track of all your clients and their data? Next one, how do you know which client is going to be doing well and which one actually needs attention? Because it's it's not as such about like who's doing well. It's more about how can we spot some red flags with a client before it actually becomes an issue, and then they kind of start dropping off. So like they've missed 2 check-ins in a row. They've had 2 red check-ins in a row where they're always saying they're green, but their results aren't matching them actually making progress. Like all these things. Do we have a system in place for that? Then how do you track the client communication history? So anytime that you have a check-in with a client or a call or anything like that, we want it logged. One, to kind of cover you in the coaching business to show that you delivered on what you said that you were doing. But also like it's just ease of access. If you're talking to a client and you're like, I swear we talked about this before. You can click on the previous calls just right there, click on it, and then you'll see the notes and you'll be like, oh, yeah, I told you we were taking the piss on the weekends and we're just having the same conversation over and over. So you will be able to see all that stuff straight away. Then we have the how do you track the client's progress over time? If you are like tracking stuff like progress photos, metrics, and stuff like that, a lot of the time you'll be using inside the coaching app. But if you are tracking other stuff like right, their check-in data, their consistency rates with their check-ins, and like their service reviews, ideally we want a way to automatically track that and keep it in one place for you. Then how do you manage all the clients moving between the different stages in their journey? We want to make sure that we have a way to automatically calculate when they're on like first month, second month, third month, all that kind of stuff. So make sure we have that set up. So we have 5, 15, 20, 25, or 30, 35. All right. Next one now, check-ins and accountability. This is super important. So with the check-ins, do not be sending check-in messages out manually. Get that completely automated. Are your check-ins the same question every week? Do not have the same questions in your check-in every week. We can do better. You can have a logic-based check-in where it's going to adapt to if they're having a good week, a bad week, what they're struggling with, their training was good or bad. Like it can be so much more than a static form. So we want the check-in questions to be automatically based off the client's phase, progress, goals, all that kind of stuff. Then, how do you track who has or hasn't checked in? One of my clients used to print off a spreadsheet of all his clients, and then you tick it off one by one to see who checked in and if he completed their check-ins and all this kind of stuff. And that was fine until he got about 60 clients, and then that was a lot to go through and track every week. Set it up where the system automatically tracks who checked in and who didn't, and then you can have it even follow up with the people who didn't check in as a little bump to say, "Hey, fucker, same time every week. Let's not keep forgetting this. Let's check in." Then, how do you manage a client's consistency and compliance over time? Managing the check-in consistency rate. So, out of every 10 check-ins, how many times have they checked in? But then also, like, what is their check-in trend over time? Were they struggling? Then they were okay. Then they were thriving. Like, what's going on and seeing the trend with that. Ideally, we want a way that automatically tracks all that kind of stuff. And then, how do you review the client's check-ins each week? So ideally, we want a way to be able to see the client's check-ins and then see the past check-ins and see all the other client details, like their intake form, what they said to us on the sales call. All of that information we want it to be able to be seen in one place. There we go. So 50. Right. Testimonials and referrals. This is a fairly quick one. So, how do you currently collect testimonials and referrals? Most clients don't even try. They don't even ask their clients for it, which is unfortunate. How do you track who has or hasn't given you a testimonial or referral? Most of the time, there's no tracking because they don't actually ask for it. How are clients guided to write their testimonial process? Now, this is an important one. When you do decide to ask them for a testimonial, just don't say, "Hey, can you give me a quick testimonial?" Or you'll get, "Yeah, the coach is great. I had a great time. I got great results, and he's just a lovely lad." Like, great. This doesn't help too much. You want to guide them on the questions a little bit, not kind of coax them into saying stuff, but you want to ask them the right questions because you want to be able to see the transformational process. So if you ask the right questions, you'll be able to see where the client was before they started working with you and their struggles. Then when they found you, why they decided to go with you, why you were different. Then when they were working with you, the struggles they had, how they overcame them, and now what life is like after they've achieved this big result from working with you. That is the story of where they were to where they are now and how that actually happened in between and how you were a pivotal role in that. So it's just asking the right questions. That is what we want. So we want a process that's like guided questions, story based testimonials, ready to use for marketing. Then how do you actually track? Again, most of you aren't actually tracking this kind of stuff, but we want to make sure that we do have a way of actually tracking it. And then how do you use testimonials and reviews once they're collected? Again, we want the system to kind of have the testimonials and referrals produced in a way that we can actually use it directly for marketing in as little effort as possible. So in total there, we are a score of 20. From here, then we have the client calls. If you do coaching calls with your clients, we need to make sure that they are tracked. We need to make sure every single call is automatically logged with the date and make sure that everything is visible on their profile. So we can see Aaron had a call 3 weeks ago, 10 weeks ago, and this fella hasn't had a call in 16 weeks. You're like, right, I should probably give this fella a call and check in and see what's going on. Then, how do you actually take notes? A lot of people are using Fathom now, which is good. The free version of Fathom, you can just set it up, it'll automatically take the notes. But what happens with the notes after the call is the most important thing. So the notes need to be added to the person's profile so we can see it on that call record that this is exactly what we talked about. Then, how do you track the actions and follow-ups? If you use Fathom, it will actually do that then as well. If you wanted, you could have like an agent look at the summary afterwards and say, "Hey, put this into Aaron's to-do list to go follow up them on X date about X, Y, and Z," and then it will go do that for you. Then, how do you actually review what was discussed on the previous call? So even if you're using Fathom, if you are going on to Fathom and then you're trying to go back through the call history, you're scrolling down, you're looking through all your calls, trying to find when you talked about what, it's a bit of a nightmare. What you want to do is, as we get all the call notes extracted from there and attached to the client's profile, we will be able to click through all their past calls and see the summary of the calls and then see exactly what we said to them when really, really easily. So there's no kind of searching through notes anymore. Then, how do we actually manage the visibility across all your client calls? It's kind of the same thing, really. If we're getting the summary to be created and attached to the profile, the call bookings should actually be the same thing. So if they're booked in for a call in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 8 weeks, why are they booked in and when did they book in? Is the call taken? Is it canceled? Like all that kind of stuff just needs to be logged on the client profile and really easy to see. So here we're going to say 10, 20, 30, 40. This is a really good score. Okay, then our offboarding. Most clients fuck this up, to be honest, and I'm going to show you how to not mess this up right now. So most of the time when people leave their clients finish up, Do we just say, right, well, that's it? They stop messaging them, their program ends, they're out of it. That's it. Cool. Then they don't actually collect feedback and testimonials during the process, which means that at the end, they're very rarely going to try to do the same thing. So they don't really have a system for that. Some people will say, hey, dude, any chance you give me a testimonial? And then again, you might just get one of those ones like, oh, yeah, great lad. Thanks. Brilliant. Then how do we actually manage the client data once they've finished up in the program? You just leave it there. And then, you might just delete them out of your coaching app. Do you follow up with the past clients? Most of the time, people only do it when they're looking for a sale. And then how do you actually track which past clients have re-registered or rejoined? Again, most people don't track that at all. This is what we want for this right here. We want to make sure that we have that in place, because otherwise it's going to throw off the rest of the metrics in our business. And then from there, like, we have the opportunity to take back on clients. It's like essentially like new lead gen here, and we're just completely overlooking it. So that is a score of 0. And then we have financial management. How do you currently track your client payments? Most of the time, it's just in Stripe. But the thing is, we don't get our client lifetime value or the average purchase transaction per client, and depending on the offer that you're running at the time, all this data is now missing. Then, how do you know your monthly and weekly revenue? Again, you just calculate it by looking at Stripe every time. Then, how do you actually know your client lifetime value? You don't if you're not tracking this kind of stuff. Then, how do you forecast the upcoming income and renewals? Well, if you're not tracking the last part about people coming back, you're not tracking the renewals. And if you're not tracking this properly here, you won't actually be able to see what your upcoming is. Then how do you actually track any missed or failed payments? This is like the simplest thing. Stripe has like notoriously bad notifications for failed payments. So what you can do is just set up a simple automation that contacts you, contacts the client, and then flags it on their profile. But there's a very specific way that you have to do it so it doesn't wreck the coaching dynamic. I have a full video on setting this up, a tutorial on my channel there somewhere, depending on when you're watching this. But you will be able to find it there to do with failed payments, but automatically flagged ideally. So this is what we want set up for that. We're going to give this a total score of 10. And now the final one, which is really, really important, but obviously way overlooked if you haven't got the other stuff sorted yet, is how do you actually track your overall business performance? We need to make sure that we have a system that just shows us one dashboard where we have all our key metrics, key performance data on our leads, our clients, everything there in one place. That way we can spend 15 minutes a week looking at that to see what do we actually need to change, rather than just going, how do I feel this week? That's what we need to look at. Then how do you actually stay what's updated across the board? Again, like, most of the time, people aren't even tracking this kind of stuff. Like, you could have a weekly automated report sent out to you. How do you actually get notified when something important happens? Most people don't have any notifications in their business. It's a reactiveness rather than like a proactiveness, where once something is about to happen, we want to get a notification of like the indicators. For example, instead of a client turning around and giving you the, yeah, can we jump on a call message, or hey dude, I think I'm going to finish up kind of message, you might see that they had 2 red check-ins and then now they haven't checked in 2 weeks, and you're like, oh shit, we need to contact this person, we need to get them back on track. But if you didn't have that notification, you might have spotted it, and then from there it's going to be client churn, when it could have been otherwise prevented by a quick notification that could take you 30 seconds to set up. So we need to have some sort of tracking for that. Then how do you manage and store your team's procedures and SOPs? If you don't have a team, that's not really relevant for you. If you do have a team, you need to have some sort of a place where it is stored. And then how do you actually assign and track tasks? Again, if you don't have a team, it doesn't matter. But if you do have a team, we need to have some sort of a place where we can assign and track and see what's going on. Is anything done? Is anything overdue? Now, all you're going to do is you're going to take your overall score that you got from all the different areas, and then you're going to populate it here. So you might have like 5, 10, 25, 15, 10, 5, 40, 30, 25, 10. And then you will just total that up. I'm going to make up the number here. We'll say that is like 165. You'll just total it up, and then you will get your overall score. Now, what does that score actually mean? Well, straight away off the bat, you can see the worst areas. You're like, right, well, lead tracking is bad. We need to fix this. And then after that, we will go fix this one and this one. And then after that, we will move on to this one, and you can kind of start to put things in place. Now, where does this mean overall? Well, if you scroll down here, this is where we are. So if you're anywhere under 200, there's quite a lot that needs to be done. There's quite a lot that needs to be set up. If you're anywhere like 200 to 350, it's more about like leveraging the systems and automations to free up that time and capacity, but the overall structure of the actual business is fairly good. And then if you're here, it's more about just actually systemizing the processes and essentially like creating more systems on systems to really just optimize to make sure that we are getting as much out of this as we possibly can. And so it's like micro improvements to get as close to the 100% as possible. So that's where you stand right now. You have a fairly good idea about like what is working and what's kind of not working in your business. Now, if you want me to run through this with you, you can book him for a systems audit. If you have this completed, you just bring this along with you. I'll run it through it with you and go, right, well, you're saying here that your lead gen is this. Let's go have a look at it. And then I'll show you examples of the things that you could set up to go fix all those problems. And if you just want to ask a few questions, you're like, hey, I got my scores, but I'm curious about this, this, and this. Just pop me a message on Instagram. Easiest place to grab me. I'm on there most of the time. And yeah, if you have any questions, like feel free to pop it over to me. There's absolutely no worries. So take this, use it. Hopefully, this was useful for you. I know it was kind of heavy, but this is probably the most productive thing that you could do in your business right now. Because, like, if you're able to nail down these things, sorry, here, if you're able to nail down these things, like, that's an extra like 15 hours a week of work that you could automate. You have like an extra 25 to 50% of client capacity that you could unlock. And then from there, you will be scaling your revenue. So, like, take it, implement it, look at the areas, look at the bottlenecks, and then go act on them as fast as possible. Any questions, pop them over to me.